All right. Good evening once again. Longest time. Um, um, why I asked Mr. Clement to hold on because the challenge is currently having will be touched in this section, so that we can correct it once and for all. However, just to recap a few things that we did. Please, I know I've already updated us in case you have anyone that want to join this section. So the class that we created to start on Thursday was actually an idea to add to this number. So after Thursday, we'll bring that to where you guys are. After some time, the two classes will be merged. So please, if you have anyone that missed that this very one from the beginning, they can key into that section. Okay, so in our last session, we actually started looking at the introduction properly. Remember that we skipped some theoretical aspects, which I felt that we have already taken care of in the free session. So what we did was to zero on the practical approach. And then we started with setting up our development environment, which is the PyCharm, as one of the most prescribed IDE for Python coding. And then we started looking at Python basic syntax. Python basic syntax after looking at the definition of Python as a high-level programming language, and also after talking about the various application of Python, we started looking at Python basic syntax. And I told us that whenever you are learning any programming language, it is very, very important that you understand the basics. All right, that is why the whole of this training is structured to take care of everything that has to do with the fundamentals of Python, programming language, and the intermediates. So the only aspect we do not have in this program and this particular package you subscribe in is the advanced, which is where you create a user interface for displaying what we are currently displaying within our terminal. And I told us then that why our focus is on this aspect, because there are a lot of programmers that always want to start from the top, and at the end of the day, they go nowhere. So if we can focus and understand the basic and the intermediate, some of us, like I told us that time, you might be able to, fall back to self-development without even you probably registering for that advance and what sort of things yourself. That is for those that have the self-researching ability. All right. So I told us that when we are talking about Python basic syntax, we are talking about the very fundamentals of Python. We are looking at some basic commands. In fact, for us to flow with this topic, I need to recall or recap the definition of syntax so that you understand why they are called Python basic syntax. I told us in that section that the word syntax, whenever it is used in the world of programming, is talking about the set of defined rules that govern how a programming language is spoken or how code are to be written. And that is why in that section, I really took my time to dig deep that, if you remember, I have to use a particular scenario. I use Hausa that, for example, if somebody tells you that there is a particular language or there is a particular thing you can do, but before you can do that stuff, you need to understand Hausa as a language. So which means that it will be wrong for you to jump into the application of the Hausa or speaking the Hausa without understanding bit by bit the elementary aspect of it, how the language is constructed, what are the basic communication terms in that language. So that is exactly what we are looking at. I told us in that session that Python is almost everywhere. In data analytics, we use Python. In cybersecurity, we use Python. In web development backend, we use Python. In AI automation, we use Python. And I said that you may not be able to strive on these various aspects that I just mentioned until you have a solid foundation on the language itself. And that is the reason why we advertise for this program. I train on data analytics, cybersecurity, but I also observe that most of the students that I have there, they have issue because they lack the Python fundamental. And that is why we are going this way, so that if at the end we have few of you that want to say, I want to go into data analytics, then by then you are already having a solid background that will help you to strive easily on those platform. So we started looking at the basic, the very basic. And I said, when you are approaching Python for the very first time, which is assumed to all of you that are here, you start by understanding comments. And I told us that comments are just narrations. They are sections of your code which are only useful for explaining your code. They are not executable command or code in your programming. I hope somebody is getting it. Please, can I get one person unmuting and responding? Let me know if we are following.
We are following you.
Okay, so that is comment. That is comment. All right. So I also define it that comment is a non-executable note in program or in a program used to explain, that's the keyword, used to explain what the code does. Used to explain what the code does. That is the emphasis. So let's look at this from this angle. You know, today tech is being practiced remotely. That is one of the reasons why learning test kit today is very lucrative. Those days where before you learn any test kit, you must just a minute. So those days that before you learn any test skill, you have to be ready to work with physical centers or company. Those days are gradually fading out. Those days are gradually fading out. Now, the point I'm making now is that if you are going to work remote, you must understand the power of collaboration. You are not going to work alone, because it means that the entire task will be distributed and one person will finish his own, hand it over to the next person. Now, where I'm going now is for you to know why I should use comment while programming, why I should use comment to explain every important part of my programming. Because when the code gets to the next person, that is to continue from where you stop, that person is going to find it easier to know what each of those sections were created for. So the person does not need to be calling you on phone. This code, which part is comment, which part is variable. That will not arise because while you were coding, you have already used comment to explain your code sections. So I told us that whenever you want to declare a comment in Python, there are notations. In other words, there are symbols that when Python sees them, Python know that, oh, the writer of this program is communicating a comment. And if the writer of the program is communicating a comment, it means he or she is instructing me that I should not execute, I should not bother running this section of the code. Now, I told us that we have two types of comments we must understand as far as Python is concerned. We have single line comment, which is the one that is denoted with hash. Now, which means that if I press enter here, that comment notation does not cover what I'm going to write under. So right now, if I want to acknowledge what I'm going to write on this line as a comment, I must reactivate the hash sign. The first one does not cover it. Then I also mentioned multi-line comments notation in Python, which is the one that have this three string, opening and the three string, also closing. So that enables us to bind a whole sentence or multiple line or wrap them in a comment. Right? So after understanding comments, the next thing I explained to us was Python printing command, which is part of the basic Python printing command. I told us that the Python printing command is a way of telling Python programming language that displays something on the screen. Displays something on the screen. And that is why if you look at all the examples that we did, anytime we wanted to see, we wanted to display, we pass in that particular information into the print function. All right, so after that, I step into another basic Python command, which is, was it input? Okay, we did not even get to input. Let me see, it's like we did not get to input. I think I stopped at, yeah, we did input. We did input here. Look at it here. We did input. So that was another basic command we looked at in that section. And I told us that input is one of the Python basic command that is used to collect information from user dynamically. All right. So we for example, just to still perform some of these things. So I want to temporarily comment this whole section. And how am I going to comment it? You should know how to comment your live code, and you should also know how to uncomment it. Now, if currently these two lines, they are live code, they are executable code. That is what live code means. If I run this particular code now, I'm going to get an output. And the output I'm getting is is printing Prosper that is stored in a variable called first name. Now, if I want to switch them to comment, all I need to do is to highlight the range of that line or the range or the section you want to switch to comment. Then check your keyboard. You are going to see the control button. Hold the control button down. You will see towards your enter section where you have your enter button. Once you have pressed down the control button, you are going to see the /. So hold down the control button and press the /. That will automatically switch your live code to comment. Now, for example, I want to switch comment back to live code. Then highlight the whole of that section, press the same button, control and /. So that is how to switch live code to comment and back to live code. Now, I just want to switch this off. For example, I am asked to to create an input. I'm asked to create an input to receive user's what? Name. I'm asked to create. So I'm trying to re-explain, because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to recap some of those things we did last time, and then before I continue from where I want to start from today. Now, I'm going to simply say that inputs. Now, because we are printing it, we want to output it. So I'm going to wrap the input in the Python what? Print command, which is used to display information on the screen. Then I will now type the input inside the open the parenthesis bracket, which means that you are nesting the input function inside the print. Why? Because the input is the one that is going to receive the information and then pass it to what? To the print, and then the print will display it. That is the structure. So what I want to collect is a text. So because it is a test, though today we are going to really dwell on data type, that is my major topic today. So because what I want to collect is a data type that is called string, which means text type, I have to put it in what? In quotation. So anytime I use the word string, I'm referring to what? The quote. So I'll create a string, which is the quote, and this and say what? What is your name? What is your name? You are asking a question because you want the user to reply you. So this is two-way communication. You are writing an app. You are writing a program that will ask the person, what is your name? And at the same time, you are presenting a container, which is the input, to receive that information. But at the moment, the information will only be displayed on the screen because we have not instructed it to be stored in a variable. Now, you can see that what is asking the user, what is your name? Then all I need is just to supply my name, and then I must not come here to click on any of this. I'll simply press what? Enter, and then it will print my name. All right. So now this is going to take us into variable. So this is where Mr. Clement, you are going to find the solution to that challenge you are facing. Now, remember in our last session, I told us that I only dive into the variable, not because I have actually started dealing with what? Variable. So we can start writing now for those that want to write. But if you feel that writing at the same time listening will distract you, everybody should know their learning methods. There are some of us that would rather listen, and then when we get the video, we sit down with the video and pause it, follow it line by line, and be able to apply it. And there are some of us that probably must have opened our laptop on one side. As I am doing it, they are also doing it. Please, you need to know your learning method. Make sure you do not adopt a method that will distract you from learning. All right. So now what I'm talking about is that we are looking at variable. That is our major. We want to start with variable so that I can explain everything about it. Because the last time I used it, I only called it to explain a scenario, not that I actually want to focus on it. So let's write Python or programming variable. Now, in programming, generally, in programming, not just Python. You see, let me also say this. It might be helpful to some persons. You see, if this is the first programming language you are learning, I want to congratulate you that every other programming language you are going to learn after now, you have already learned what? 40% of that language. Because in programming, all the languages, all these fundamental, most of the things we are going to discuss, they are repeated. They are the same. The only difference will be that the mode of communicating them will be different. Now, there is no programming language today that you are going to learn that you will not hear variable. And when you hear the variable, the function still remain the same. The only difference between the variable in Python and the variable in another program is the syntax of declaration, the format. How does Python acknowledge variable? How does Python create variable? Is different from the way maybe Java scripts or Java will declare what? That same variable. But the bottom line is that the function remains the same. So let's look at what is the definition of variable. So what is variable? What is variable? What is variable? Now, let me define it. So a variable is a name. I'm still going to explain it. A name memory, location, used to store data that can be refreshed or referenced rather, that can be referenced, take my reference, that can be referenced and let me break it. So I will have used the multi-line to avoid creating the comment twice. That can be referenced and manipulated. That can be referenced and manipulated in a program. That's a simple definition of variable. Now let's look at the keywords there so I will understand it. Variable is just like a box. Let me do some illustration. It's just like a box like this. You know, when we are teaching all those primary school students, we break it down. So let me go down that level so that you can understand it. It's just like your lunch box. And then it's a container. Now, you know, you will now begin to throw things inside it. Now, a variable can only hold one information. And that is why we will get to advanced data type. A variable can hold only one word information, which means that if I am creating an app that will use my first name, my middle name, my last name, my country, how many variables do I need? I need what? 4 variables. All right? Unless when we get to advanced data type, that is where we'll be able to store multiple values in one variable. But now, if you are referring to it as variable, you need to understand that a variable holds what? One value in a memory location. Now, I want to analyze that definition so that we understand why some of the keywords are used in that definition. Now, if you look at that definition, let me take it bit by bit. I said what? One is what? A named memory. Now, that takes us to understanding that every language, every programming language has a memory that it stores things. And those informations that are held in that memory, they are called what? The functions or the keywords. So when you hear a programmer saying that I'm using a keyword, it's simply telling us that is what? Assessing or exploring what has been saved in the memory of that word program. For example, the print command that you call. You will notice that each time you type print, before you finish typing itself, by the time you type PRI, it has what? Dropped it. Which means that what O is found in the memory. It has been saved before now. So we cannot say that the print is a keyword. All right? So it's not the word that is being introduced for the very first time. So I'm trying to qualify that statement that says what? Name memory, which means that a variable is a storage that is given what? An identity. So for example, before I explain, if I say, okay, F name as a variable, and then I'm storing what? My name, Prosper, inside it. This is a variable. This is syntax. So now, at the same time, if as a programmer, you are asked if you are to conceptualize this, if you are to model this, what are you saying? What this is this? What you are simply saying is this. Let me interpret it. What this is equals to this. This is storage. And inside this storage, the name of this storage is F name. I'm trying to visualize it. Don't mind my writing. The name of this storage, this container, is what? F name. Now, the value, the content, what is inside the container is Prosper. So let me stop here because it's Prosper. So which means we are saying that anytime, which means that we are saying that going forward, as far as this application is concerned, there is a container that is holding Prosper as a value. So in the course of your development, anytime I need Prosper, I don't need to be worried. But Prosper has now been introduced as part of the program library. Prosper has now been acknowledged by Python in this particular program that I'm writing. So anytime I want to see Prosper or I want to call Prosper, I will call the name of the container. Please get this logic. Whenever you want to see what you store in a variable, you don't call the value, you call the container's name. Is anybody following, please? Let me get a response. Lua say we are just joining. Welcome.
Yes.
Okay.
We are
Okay.
following you.
All right. So now, and that is why, let me see if I can still leave this here. That is why, let's say I am writing my program to this length and I want to use Prosper here. So I will now know that, oh, I have already saved Prosper. So instead of me creating this variable, I will just say print. So you cannot see what is happening at the background each time you are saying print. And you put what? The F name. So you can see that the moment I type FN, it dropped it as what? An existing what? Keyword. Which means that yes, I have it with me. And then if I run the code, you see that what? It will now what? Print the Prosper. So let me remove this temporarily so that we can view only this. So let me stop this and run it again. So if I run it now, I get what? Prosper outputted. So which means that, look at what happened. You supply the name of the container where Prosper is. And the command, the print command knows that what is inside the container is what the user wants to display. All right. So now that you understand this logic, let's move further. Now, let me see this diagram. Now, that is a variable. Now, let's quickly understand the syntax of declaring variable. You know, I always tell my students, sometimes when people say programming is hard, it's because they don't know how to follow programming rules. Some of us are very stubborn, even in our way of living. We don't abide to instructions. and you see them bringing it to programming, and then you see them was stumbling. Programming have syntax. That is what I am emphasizing on since. If you are going to be good at a programming language, then you must be ready to follow the syntax. And as I'm training us, you are taking note of how I am following the rules, so that at the end of the day, it doesn't appear very difficult. Python is one of the simplest programming languages that I've ever seen. I know up to 5 different programming languages, but I can tell you that Python is one of the programs that I don't even need to bother myself that I want to go and teach, because it's very simple. We established that from the beginning. His own syntax, his own communication mode is almost the same as English. Once you can speak English, you can easily understand Python. So now look at what I want to do here now. I want to explain the variable syntax. Let me use comment. Variable syntax. Variable syntax. So which means that what? What is the structure of variable? How does variable look like? What is the format? That is the meaning. Because until you understand the structure, you might create it halfway. You might create it halfway and end up thinking that you have created a variable. And by the time you run it, you will now see that you are getting what? Errors. Is anybody still following? You now see that you are getting errors. So what is the variable syntax? Variable syntax. Variable syntax has 3 sections that we must understand in this class. There are 3 sections, there are 3 parts that makes up a variable. If any of them is missing, your code will throw error. You know, when we get to a point where I will now teach us, I will deliberately create some challenges and ask us to what? To figure it out. Because I told us from the one that one of the things you learn when you are learning programming is what? Ability to think critically. And what will lead to that is what we call debugging. Debugging. You know, at a point, why I'm hiding that aspect now, because we are yet to stand. All right. So there's a point we'll get to now. I'll just come to the class. I will write a program and deliberately make some error and tell you, look at the program and what? Debug the error, provide the solution. That is needed. In fact, let me say this from experience. If you are learning programming language and you are not making mistakes and it's not appearing to, to be difficult at the beginning, then you are not going to have good debugging skills. You are not going to have solid problem-solving skills from experience. There are students that when we start like this, you see them, they write one code, it throws error, just like Mr. Clement. They write another code, it throws error. At the end of the day, you see those students being what? Better than those that all their code, everything was going through. They never wrote a code that, that stresses them. Because each time, like Clement now, by the time we solve that challenge, Clement is having now. Because he has been trying. He has been looking at it from where is this problem coming from? He will look at it like this. I tried this one, did not work. Now, you see what is happening to him mentally is that he's learning the ability of what? Solving problem, complex problem. He's also wiring in himself the ability to stay, to stay on. But you write at the level you are learning. You write all your code, you are working automatically. You are missing a skill. Is either you are not facing things that are difficult than you so that you can, experience that, or you are just taking those simple things. That is why you are not experiencing those errors. And then you now feel that you are a programming champion. One thing is missing. You are lacking debugging, problem-solving skill. So, a variable syntax, the first part of your variable is called what? Naming. Every variable must have a name, and it is the name that is used to identify it. Because we talk about the memory of the system, the library. Things are stored there, and they must be stored with what? Unique ID in that location that is assigned to it. So what we are saying is just this. Let me illustrate again. Let's say this is the program memory. This is the program memory. All right. Now, this program memory probably have the capacity of storing, let's say 15 gig. 15 what? Gig information. Now, each time, like this variable that we created now, based on the size, the volume of the character in it, will now be stored in bits, not in bytes, not in kilobytes, not in gigabytes, not in terabytes, depending on the volume. So this can just be what? Bytes, 1 bit. It's not even up to bytes. It's not even up to bytes. So now if it means that a tiny space will be allocated to it, and that space that is allocated will carry a name, and that name is going to be what? F name, a container's name. Now, you create another variable, another memory allocation will be given. You create another variable, another memory allocation will be given. All right? So now what we are saying now is that each of these memory allocation has what? ID. They have what? ID. And the ID, I'm going to ask, so can somebody, if I'm storing Prosper in this, let's say this is where we are storing Prosper. I want somebody to unmute and tell me what is the ID of this memory allocation. What is the ID? What is the ID? Can somebody unmute and respond, please, quickly? No idea. Okay, the ID is this. This is the ID that is interpretable to human. But the computer still have some letter S, B, S, A, 1000 that is going to use. But as far as human is concerned, we recognize this particular location as what? The name of the variable. So variable has 3 sections. We have just explained the first section, which is the what? The naming section. So the name of this variable is what? F name. Then the second section of a variable, which is the B in this case, is the what? The assignment. So Mr. Clement, after this, you're going to solve your challenge there. Assignment operator. Assignment operator. Now, which is usually denoted with what? 1 equal sign. So this equal sign that we have here does not mean equality in programming. It only represents what? Assignments. And what our assignment means? It means you are assigning a value. So if I'm to interpret this Prosper now, you cannot say that Prosper is equals to F name. It is wrong in programming. You rather say that what? Prosper is assigned into a container named what? F name. That is the right expression. Prosper is assigned. Prosper is given as a value to a container. Equality in programming will require what? 2 of the equal sign, not 1. Or 3 in most cases. When you are using equal sign, please take note that that is an assignment operator. It is not equal sign as we know it in mathematics. So that is one part that must be in your variable declaration. So just imagine you come here now and say F name, and like this. This is not complete. You can see that Python has already what? Through error. If I try to print now, because this is part of the debugging skill that we're talking about, let's try printing what? That F name now, and you will see what will happen. Let's try printing that F name again. You see what happened? Now, when you have errors in programming, particularly with Python, because Python is AI language, it helps us to detect where the error is easier. Now, look at this here. Your error has a name. The name of the error is syntax error. Can you see it? So as a programmer, once you identify the name of the error, you now know, oh, okay, this is syntax error. It's not because I'm using a wrong function. Okay. And syntax means what? The rules that are to be followed, which means that I violated what? Certain rule. So what is the rule? Then you now see Python being an intelligent what? A language is able to what? To point to where you have that error. Look at this angle here, this icon here, telling us that you see that particular area from where you have the first one to the last one, check within that area. That is where the error is. And if you look at it very well, that is where the error. But you cannot see that what the error cannot be traced to what is missing here. So since it says syntax error, I'll quickly find out, oh, maybe my variable is not declared because it shouldn't be showing this word red here. So I will just add the equal sign and then you see that what? The error disappeared. Then if I run my code, then I get what? The output. What I did now can take somebody 30 minutes. He's still looking for where the error is. It is normal for beginners. So as you are growing in programming, you will get to a point whereby once you see error based on experience, you know it will save the time. You can see the way I quickly solve that problem because I have faced that error numbers of times. So it is normal that you are just starting, you have faced like that Clement error. It is normal. It is normal. Don't be discouraged. So now what comes after? Let's look at the next part of the variable. We are still looking at variable structure. Now, the C part of a variable is what we call what? The value. The variable value. The variable value. So what is variable value? Variable value is the content, what you are putting in the container. And that is why once I'm done with this now, I'm going to allow us to practice it. You are going to create a variable and then you are going to print it. You're going to create 2 to 3 different variables and then you will print it and then you share your screen. For those that are joining with their laptop, I will check it before I go to the next topic. So variable value, like I said, it means the content, what you are putting inside the container. Now, in the next section, when I come back after the classwork, I am going to be talking about data types. That is where we are going to be knowing why some value are stored certain way in a variable. What are the rules that are behind storing this type of data, this type of value in a variable? For example, now this is a string variable. So if I create a number variable, let's say S, and I'm storing what? 90 inside. Why did I not quote it? There is a reason for that in programming. That is because I acknowledge the type of value 90 is. And in Python programming, this type of value does not require quoting it. So we're going to find out in the next, when I'm back from the classwork or the classwork I'm giving you. What is the task? Please, I would like us to do it. What is the task? Let me use what is the task? The task is create 3 variables. 3 variables storing. So use them storing your basic information. So it could be your first name, second, your middle name, your state. I just want to have three variable. Then that is the first task. The second task is that print all the variables, values, all the variables, values in the terminal. Are we together? So you can start now. I'm giving us 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Okay, let me just give us 10 minutes to achieve this. Please, you can start now. And then if you have question, please, you can also ask. All right. So I believe if Clement has not been able to know what went wrong with his code, he can also ask questions during this time. And then I can now look at it properly. Any question, please?
Yes. My concern is from the first time of creating the
The
this
variable.
the comments. How to give the
No, no,
command.
no. The question I'm asking now, what I've explained so far now, has it answered, has it provided a solution or not? If it is not, then you share your screen. Let's solve it now. I was
Okay. Let
expecting,
me share my screen.
okay, share your screen. While other, please, once you are done with your classwork, please kindly notify us, please. Clement, I'm waiting for you.
Yeah. I need to share the screen. Where is it? You are still sharing. I'm not seeing where to share my screen.
No, I have stopped sharing, please. Kindly share. Mr. Clement, are you still having issue of sharing? But now you should have mastered that,
That is
Mr.
what I'm
Clement.
trying to.
Mr.
That's what I'm
Clement,
trying to do. I don't know why because
please try and master that too.
that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know why it's not showing because I have seen more leave.
For those that are working, once your own is ready, please, can you widen it? Can you
That's
increase
what I want
your,
to.
click on the maximize button so that we can see your editor very well.
Okay. Okay. You can see it now.
No, increase it. Good.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
no, no, don't worry. It's coming up now. It's coming up. Okay, can you go to where
Okay.
you are having issue? Let me see the whole of your code.
Okay. Let me remove because I was typing what you were saying that time. This is where I'm working.
You
Are you
see,
seeing it?
yes, what I'm seeing here is okay, okay. Oh yeah, start, oh yeah, create
Yes.
the
This is
variable.
where I
Yeah,
want to work.
oh yeah, create the variable. Oh yeah, create the variable. Okay, just continue now.
Yes.
Let's see what you're going to do there.
Yes. That's
That,
where my problem is.
what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to
Like
create a
now, we said to, I want to maybe say okay, print name humble.
Mhm.
Uh, that's my variable to create a name.
Oh yeah, write the comment now. Finish the comment. You go to the next slide. Finish the comment. Write the comment. Finish it first. Then you go to the next slide. Create.
Okay, like this one now. Hello? Hello?
Yes. Oh yeah, create a variable. What is the variable name? I just finished talking about the name. No, you cannot print. You cannot print.
Okay.
You have not created a container and put a value. Just say first name.
Okay.
You must
First
create the
name.
container, put a value inside. It is the value you want
With,
to access.
will I write the name with capital letter like this?
Yes, just follow it. Don't worry, just write good. Oh yeah, equals to one single equal sign.
Okay. Space. Then humble.
Then put string, quotation, quote it, quotation.
Okay. Is it this?
Quotation. I've not seen it yet, so maybe it's still coming.
Is it not there?
Quotation, Mr. Clement. Put the quotation sign now. You should use your keyboard. There's a place you press. To hold down the shift key, then the symbol is there, right in your keyboard there. You quote it.
That's
You
what I.
quote. No, you did
Is it
not quote it.
okay?
You are not using the
This
right.
one.
No. Quotation, Mr. Clement. Quotation. Either single or double. Check your keyboard. You should know how to access that symbol on your keyboard. Hold down the shift
Is it
button.
this one? Is it this one?
No, that is comment. You are no quotation, Mr. Clement.
I said I tapped the phone. I said, is it this one? I
I'm not.
put.
Once I see it, I will know. In as much as it's showing that. No, that is not Mr. Clement. Look up. Let me share my screen. Just stop sharing. Look at my screen,
Okay.
Mr. Clement. Look at this is
Okay.
the sign. This, if you can see my screen, this is the sign I'm asking you to insert. Can you see it, Mr. Clement? Look at this
The
sign. Look.
quotation. Okay.
Yes,
Equals
not
to.
brackets. After equal to the quotation, that is this is what I'm asking for, Mr. Clement. Can you see it?
I put it. Maybe you didn't see it.
Maybe it's the network. So I'll stop sharing. Coming back to your screen. Yeah, go back to your screen. It's like my network was behind your own.
That is my concern. I don't know again. Is it showing?
It's coming up now. Just hold on. No. It's showing another thing. You are not on that environment.
Let me check. No. Is it showing?
No, no. I'm seeing down and print it now. Let's.
Do I need to put the quotation?
No. Oh, yeah, run it. No. You don't have to put the quotation. Call exactly the name you have there, the way it is there. The spelling must align with the way you created it when you were creating it as a variable. Good.
I think this one will run.
Yes. Oh, yeah, run it now.
Okay. Yes. It said process finished with exit code 0. Humble.
Good. So yeah, do the assignment, do the classwork now. I want to hear from others. So you have to create, please let me share my screen. You have to complete this classwork. You have to create 3 different variables storing your basic information.
Maybe one should be your state, your country, whatever, and then print all of them in the terminal. That is the classwork. So once you have completed it, please let me know. I'm waiting for you guys.
Okay, we create three. Ba?
Yeah, yes,
Create three.
yeah, three variable. Look at it now. The
Three.
statement is written on my screen. And that is Basil, right? Okay, Basil, have you outputted them? I can okay, yeah, I can see them. I can see them in the terminal. Good. Basil, stop sharing so that they will not capture it. Just stop sharing. Let me see if they can come up with their
Nobody
own.
is looking at his own now.
Okay, now here. Let me see whether they can come up with it on their own. Okay. Please, once you are ready, let us know.
Okay, good. All right. Although
I
I
stop
say,
sharing.
yeah, stop
Okay,
sharing.
how do I save it?
No, it's already saved now. Once you run it, it's already
Okay.
saved in your file.
Okay. Thank you.
Already,
I stop sharing.
yeah, stop sharing so that we can proceed. So gradually we are going. So that is programming for you.
Okay. This is nice.
All right. So let's continue from where we stopped. So that's the end of understanding variable syntax. Remember that another thing again I want to emphasize on in order to wrap up the aspect of variable syntax is for us to understand the variable naming conventions. Variable naming convention, which means that what? Variable naming standards. There are sets out standards that should guide you when you are naming your variable. All right. For example, let me just quickly chip in that, and then we proceed to data type. Though I will extend the time by 20 minutes or thereabouts because we started a little bit late. Now, we're talking about what? Variable naming convention or standard. All right. Now, the first rule for naming variable is that, which I mentioned in that class, but I don't want to assume. So you must not start a variable name with number. Please, let's get all this information. You must not start variable name with what? Numbers. It's not allowed. For example, it is wrong for you to say 23 is equals to this. It is wrong. It is wrong. You see that what? There is a notification already, right? So it is not allowed, right? Then another one is that most of these other ones are optional. You should use you must choose your case. Know that variables name are case sensitive. Variable names are case sensitive. You need to be aware of that, right? They are case variable names are case sensitive. You must understand that as well, right? Then for that reason, which means that if you say capital letter A is holding what? This is not the same thing as small letter a holding what? 90. They are two different the memory allocations are different. They are not being given what? The same storage. That is what it means. So let's bear all this at the back of our mind. All right. So now that we understand this, let's quickly look at the new topic I am introducing. The new topic I am introducing is data type. So we can start writing data type, because this will still connect us to the application of variable. So I just wanted us to have that basic knowledge about variable, because we are still going to be using the variable to explain these various what? Data type. So data type in Python programming. Data type in Python programming. So what do we mean by data type? Just give me one. So like I was saying, what do we mean by data type? Now, by definition, we can define data type as different kind of information needed for programming. Different kind of information needed for programming. Now, like I must have established that in programming, you work with information. You can see all the code we have written and executed so far in tonight's session. We use information. For example, now we use 90 here, which means that what we use number. And here, when I store Prosper in fname, I use text. So all this information that programmer uses to program, they are called what? Data types. So every programmer, the moment you understand comments, you understand input, I'm talking about Python now, you understand variable concepts, then the next topic should be understanding different data type Python uses in programming or use in Python coding. You need to understand that. Now, we can say that data type in programming, you see, sometimes I'm using the word program because most of these things are the same across other programming languages, not just Python. All right, so even if I personalize them to Python or I generalize them, it's still the same. So we have two types of what? We have two types of, or in other words, Python data types can be categorized into two categories. The first one are the one we call primitive data type. Primitive what? Data type. And then the second one is what we call the reference. The reference, or we can as well say what? Advanced. The reference or advanced data type. All right. But in this section, this particular class, and I'm not sure that with the remaining time, we can even finish the primitive data type. But the order of learning them is that when we are done understanding both theoretical wise and practical wise with the primitive, then we advance towards to the advanced. After the advanced, we can now start talking about functions. That is where we'll now start creating real life applications. Now, all these are skills you must have. You cannot jump to app development and you don't know how to use the language basic what syntax. Now, so we are focusing on primitive data type tonight. Primitive. My keyboard. Primitive word data type. For the sake of those that are writing. So how do we define primitive data type? So the primitive data types are also known as basic data type. They are known as what? Basic data type. They are known as basic data type. All right, so that primitive is just a grammar. We can say what? Basic data type. Or we can as well say what? Primary data type. So you either call them primitive or basic or primary data type. Are we following? Please let me get a response from at least one person if we are following before I continue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Now, the primitive data type are the basic data type which represents the building block, which represents the building block. Let me enter here, which represents the building blocks of data in Python. All right. Now, that word that I use, building block, is strategically used in a structure. What holds the entire structure? What is used to form the structure? I'm talking about the building you are in. Is what the key component that form that building is the what? The blocks. It is the blocks that form the shape of the building. The blocks that form what? The shape of the rooms you are in. So that is just to tell you how important these data types are. In fact, it is impossible for any programmer to write program without involving these data types. Are we together? So we need to understand that.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the example of them. We are going to be using variable to also explain some of them. Example of what? Of primitive or basic data type. Example of basic data type. So the first one is string. So you must have had me using the word string. So this is where it comes from. String. So how do we define string? So we can define string. We can say what? Strings are texts. String are texts, or let me put it in the standard form. I can say string is a sequence of characters used to represent. I'm trying to type so that I can slow myself down. To represent what? Text. So that is why each time I want to represent anything as text, I put it in the quotation or it is in the quote sign. That is the principle. Anytime you are dealing with string across all the programming languages that I know, they must be acknowledged in the quotes, either single or double quotes. That is how Python recognizes them as string. That is what tells Python that, oh, for the fact that the programmer enveloped them in the single quote or the double quote, they are string. And if they are string, these are data type that represent text. They are character-based data type. For example, we are going to use variable to explain them. So if we are given a task, create a Python string variable. Now, it means that I am concerned with the type of value that will be stored in the variable. Based on the task, create a Python string variable, which means, for example, my name Prosper is a string. Why? Because it is a sequence of character, combination of character, Prosper. That is the meaning of what? Sequence of character. So I can say, okay, my first name. So here I'm going to start using some of the conventional word cases that are allowed in Python, or casing. Now, we have what we call camel case. Camel case is where you are using two words. Like now, I'm using first and name. First and name as the name of my variable. Two words. Now, if you are using two words in Python programming, you either acknowledge it as Pascal case, or camel case, or snake case. Now, camel case is where the first word, the entire first word, will be small letter. For every other subsequent word, the first letter of it must be in capital letter. If you look at this now, first is small letter or true. For the name, the N is capital letter. That is camel case. Is one of the conventional naming word rule that we can adopt. Now, the assignment, like I've told you before. Now, I want to store string inside. That is where I need to understand the principle, the rule for storing what? This type of data in the variable. And that is why it is very important we are understanding this different data type, so that we can also learn what are the rules for handling them in a variable, so that in the course of your programming, you know how to attend to them, so that it will not generate error. For example, if I just type Prosper here without putting it in the quote, if we run it and you see what? An error telling you that what? Something is missing. That is because I have not followed the rule. That is because I have not acknowledged that I am storing a string in a variable. So since it's a string, it implies that it must be in what? A double quote or single word quotes. So now I can print the value of that word, a variable, and then I'm going to get what? An output, Prosper. All right, so let's understand that whenever you are storing text or string, they must be what? They must be quoted. Now, if you want to prove whether Python, I want to actually check, how am I sure that Prosper is a string? Okay, Python has an inbuilt function which is used to check the type of value or data type you store in a variable. For example, I can say write a Python code to check data type in first name, right? I'm putting it in form of task that is given to you. Now, the function is called what? Let me put it here, using a type function. So that is the function you are going to use. Now, but you must understand the structure, the syntax. Now, you are using that function to check what's the type of data or value that is held in first name. So which means that you are going to write it this way. I want to output it at the same time, not just writing it. So I will say what? Print. I will say print, and then I will write what? The type function inside it. Then is a function. It must have its own what? Parenthesis what? Bracket. And then I will simply supply the name of the variable that has the value I want to check its type. Then if I print now check what happened. It output that what prosper is a string, which in Python, there is a constructor. There is an inbuilt a representation of what the function that is used to what to create what string, which is what str, which means that what it is a string. Can somebody unmute and say, "Sir, I'm following," or not?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to give us, I'm giving us just 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Now, I want you to print the type of variable out of those 3 variables that you created. Just print the type, use this type, and then tell me what you see here. You don't need to share your screen. Once you are ready, just tell me that I printed this and this is what I got. Fine. Sharp, 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 sharp. I just want us to implement that one before we proceed. I'm waiting. Once your own is ready, let me know.
Who is sharing? Okay. 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 All right, Mr. Basiru, you are doing well. Mr. Clement, Alpha. Mr. Clement, Alpha. I see Mr. Clement cannot hear me. Mr. Clement.
Let me share my own.
Oh, yeah,
Let me share now.
quickly.
Okay. Has it shown?
Yes. Okay, good.
Thank you.
At least you have pick up now. Good. All right.
I'm happy.
So you can see that this thing is not hard. All right, so you can
I'm
stop
happy.
sharing and
Okay.
let's mute now so that we can continue. You see a few things I want to teach us. All right, so let's look at what we call Python indexing. I hope you are making our notes. Python indexing. Python indexing. So what do we mean by Python indexing? Now, this is a programming concept that tells us that all value in an array has a numerical word position. So what it means is that it is a programming concept that tells us
that all values in array has, let me break it, has numerical position. So what we are saying is that, and this will also tell us how items are counted in programming. You know, in mathematics, if I want to count Prosper, in mathematics, P is 1. But in programming, generally, the very first item is always at index 0. So which means that in programming, this P is not at number 1, is what? At number 0. I'm going to prove it to us in a second. This R is what? At 1. That is the number. So it's an invisible numbers representing the positioning of those items. So which every programmer should know. This is 2. So and so on and so forth. So what we are saying now is that because when you print F name or first name, it outputted the whole letters. What about if you are asked to print only letter P from Prosper? That is the program, the app I am running at the moment. I just want to output what P here, not to output the entire Prosper. Until you understand this indexing concept, you will find it difficult. Now, which means that the way programming or Python count things from the left-hand side to the right-hand side is that the first item is 0. And what is the logic? Python uses the item before it to count it. For example, now, it uses P to count R. It uses what? O to count S, which means that if before you count P, what do you have? Nothing, 0. That is why P is at what? 0. Before you count R, what do you have? You have one item, which is P. That is why R is at what? 1. Before you count O, you will have counted what? 2 items, P and R. That is why it's at what? 2. Now, using this concept, then I can simply come here now and say, okay, this is the task. Write a Python code to print or output only letter P from Prosper. This is a task given to you. So the way you are going to write it, you are going to say print, because the task says you want to output it. Print. Now, you will now select the name of that variable where you are calling that particular character, that letter from, which is what? First name. Get the logic? Then after that, you will now put square bracket like this, square bracket. Take note of the bracket I'm using. And then I will put 0 inside. So if I run this code now, guess what it's going to do? It's going to print what? Only P. So let's repeat it. Let's say we are to print what? So this very one, it is called, this one here, it is called positive. This one is called positive what? Indexing. Because you counted from the left towards the right. So if you are counting from the right to the left, then it means the task will be, just a minute. So it means the task will be, I like putting them in form of task so that you understand what you are talking about. So write Python code to print letters from the right to left. E.g., we are to print this R here. Or let me print this E here, let's print the E. E.g., we are to print what? Letter E. Let's say we are to print letter E. So the way you are going to write your code is this, because we want to output it, so I'll say print, and then I'll call that same word variable name. Let's say what? First name. Then I'll also select the square bracket. The only difference between this one and the other one is that the other one you printed what? Positive index. This one you are going to print negative index. So you put minus inside. Now, if you are counting value from the right hand side to the left, the first one is not as 0. The first one is the actual one. So which means that what? R is what? 1. That is minus 1. R is minus 1. Sorry, please. So R is going to be what? Minus 1. So if I want to print the E, it's going to be minus 2. It's going to be minus 2. So if I run the code now, you see that what? It printed what? The E. So the idea is that if you are printing value from the right to the left, that is called negative. So this very one that I just printed now, let me clear this. This very one, it is referred to as what? A negative what? Indexing. Negative indexing. That is what it means. Is that clear? I want to give us some time to achieve this. Let's achieve this. Let's achieve this.
What are we to do? We use our own name and do it. Sir?
Use one
Hello?
of your variable. Print the first letter, print the last
And the
letter.
second one. Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, so can you share now? We share it. Let's confirm that. Okay, this is Basiru, right? Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. All right. Let's hear from